It's 30,000 miles of my pre-refreshed Tesla Model 3 rear-wheel drive. It's the Model 3 with the LFP battery that can't be optioned anymore. In its place, Tesla now has the new long-range rear-wheel drive Tesla Model 3. The Model 3, in my opinion, is the best electric vehicle to buy in terms of its all-round capabilities, from daily driving to long road trips, and also its high level of adjustability. In this video, we'll look through its build condition, its battery, range, efficiency, incidents, and all other experiences of consequence, all after 30,000 miles. So let's get into it. The car is 184.8 inches in length, 76.1 inches wide, and 56.8 inches in height, with 5.5 inches of ground clearance. It has a wheelbase of 113.2 inches and weighs 3,862 pounds. The 2023 Model 3 rear-wheel drive has a 60.5 kWh battery pack on the LFP chemistry that's 57.5 kWh usable. The new Model 3 long-range rear-wheel drive that's replaced this one has a 81 kWh gross battery pack, pretty much 80 kWh usable. Let's look at its battery, range and efficiency after 30,000 miles. The battery when new indicated 272 miles of range at 100% in state of charge. At the same level, it now indicates between 256 to 259 miles. Though this is not the best way to check the degradation reliably, I do track the energy the car receives in slow charging and the added percentage it indicates against the same. For example, in a single slow charging session, if the car accepts say 25 kilowatt hours, and that equates to an addition of 50% in the state of charge, the full capacity must be 100 upon 50 times 25 or 50 kilowatt hours. The degradation in this case would be 57.5 kilowatt hours, the usable capacity when new, minus 50 kilowatt hours equaling 7.5 kilowatt hours, or a degradation of 13%. This is just an example, and the key factor would be to consider the energy received by the car and not that dispensed by the charger, which would include charging losses. In a nutshell, lesser the energy received for every indicated added percent in state of charge, higher the degradation. This method of checking degradation is not the most scientific and accurate, but I believe it's fairly reliable and easy for anybody to use. For even more reliability, I took 5 independent readings of the same in the last few thousands of miles, which we can average to obtain a good number. In each of the readings, I ensured that a minimum of 25 kilowatt hours was added to the car battery on a slow charger, or roughly 43.5% of the original total capacity. The first reading taken on the 26th of December 2024 indicated 25 kilowatt hours received from 32% to 77% in state of charge. That was 45% added against the 25 kilowatt hours received and indicated a usable capacity of about 55.5 kilowatt hours at 100% and a degradation of 2 kilowatt hours from the original 57.5 kilowatt hours of the usable battery pack. That's about 3.4% over the 27,865 miles at the time of the reading. The degradation by this reading was roughly 1.2% per 10,000 miles. Some energy is always lost in charging to heat, and the charger actually delivered 26.6 kilowatt hours, indicating 6.5% of charging losses in this single charging session. The second reading taken on the 28th of December 2024 indicated 29 kilowatt hours received by the battery from 48% to 100% in state of charge. That was 52% added against the 29 kilowatt hours received, or a 3% degradation over the total miles. The odometer indicated the battery age at 27,908 miles at the time of that session, a 1.07% degradation per 10,000 miles. The third reading taken on the 3rd of January 2025 displayed a degradation of 3.4%. In this third reading, the car charged from 37% to 82%, adding 45% to the state of charge, and the car had 25 kilowatt hours in receipt to show for it. The odometer read 27,998 miles at the time of this reading, and the car indicated a full battery capacity of 55.5 kilowatt hours against the 57.5 kilowatt hours original by the stated calculation method. The 3.4% of degradation over the 27,998 miles equated to 1.2% per 10,000 miles. The fourth reading indicated an identical degradation of 3.4% with 25 kilowatt hours added against the 45% addition to the battery. That was charging 45% to 90%. The degradation per 10,000 miles was 1.2% with the odometer at the time of the reading indicating 28,044 miles. This reading was taken on the 6th of January 2025. The fifth and final reading was taken on the 11th of January 2025. The car was charged from 49% to 97%, adding 27 kilowatt hours. That was 2.2% degradation or 0.8% per 10,000 miles. The odometer at this reading was 28,138 miles. The BMS calculations are not always dead accurate and are often subject to rounding errors, real-time estimates that vary, and other externalities. I'd like to reassert that this is not a dead accurate and scientific way of checking degradation, but taken multiple times and over a period, a fairly easy one. Then again, with Tesla, you have the assurance of a fairly accurate BMS, without which this method would not be feasible. A deep charge does indicate lesser degradation here, but when the averages are rounded off, they present a fair indication of the battery life. All the slow charging was on my regular 7.2 kilowatt AC charger near home. An even better way would be to check the degradation in multiple sessions that have added substantial energy and are all to the full 100%. So by a final assessment over the 5 readings, the median degradation number was 3.4% and the average degradation as measured was 3.08%. That's an average of 1.09% per 10,000 miles, a fairly acceptable and expected level of degradation at around 30,000 miles. We are being pessimistic here and it could indicate an even better number if all readings were taken to the full 100% of charge. This car will make it well over 100,000 miles with about 85 to 90% of its range still intact in my prediction. I have periodically conducted real-world range checks, the results of which I like to mention here. These were not 100% to 0%, but in loops at 70 miles per hour highway speeds to real-world destinations. You can check those videos with the link in the description. To summarize those from the recent 2 checks, at 18,000 miles, the car yielded 4.55 miles per kilowatt hour in a trip from Cupertino to Yosemite and back. At around 24,000 miles, it indicated 4.63 miles per kilowatt hour from Cupertino to Big Sur and back, both at 70 miles per hour highway speeds, loop style and on separate routes. On the whole, the Model 3 consistently delivers 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour. Coupled with the degradation, it's still a great car after 30,000 miles. The car easily delivers over 250 to 260 miles at 70 miles per hour highway speeds, and aided by the Tesla supercharger network, it leaves all other likely concerns in the dust. The build quality of the Model 3 has vastly improved. It does give in to bad road conditions in terms of rattles at times, but for the most part, if the road is good, which is mostly the case where I live, the ride is fairly good. That having said, a low height car like the Model 3 with the 18-inch wheels is going to be closer to the road with relevant cabin isolation. And that also means the road noise will make its way in to that extent, even with the large battery pack underneath. I have not experienced any body issues whatsoever, and the car is largely in the condition as I got it in. Just for reference, you can check the 20,000 miles review here or via its link in the description to check the differences over the last 10,000 miles. And those 10,000 miles had the maximum road trips than ever before in the extreme summer heat that we experienced here in the Bay Area. It's worth noting that under extreme temperatures, particularly in colder climates, electric vehicle batteries do suffer performance shortfalls. The only incidents I experienced with the Model 3 was when a rock chip hurled and shattered my windscreen this last summer. This came from nowhere and it required a full windshield replacement. I have Tesla insurance that's very reasonably priced. The cost of replacement was within the deductibles, and that meant that the entire incidence of the cost fell on me. That's often the case with low premiums and high deductibles. Tesla insurance, however, applied a 50% discount over all the parts. The cost of a new windshield was $900 and I was charged $450. The adhesives cost $76 and I was charged $38, both with the 50% discount. The total material cost thus came to $488. The windshield was replaced in about 30 to 45 minutes, but I was billed for 1.98 or just under 2 hours. for a total labor cost of $524.70. That summed up to $1,012.70 after discounts. With taxes of 44.53, the total cost incurred by me was $1,057.23. There was little to no response to the labor cost duration query, and the executive looked helpless. I paid anyway for the value of the time saved thereafter. This was the only incident that I experienced with a car that required a repair. Over the entire 30,000 miles, I had only two replacements. The first was a minor one of the air filter after 20 months of use, which the Tesla roadside undertook at my residence, and it took barely 5 minutes and cost me $81.70. The second one was all the four tires, and this one was an interesting one. I regularly check the treads on my tires, and at around 21,000 miles, the treads appeared significantly depleted to 0.4 or 5 from the original 10 on my Michelin 18-inch aero wheels that came with the brand new Tesla. Tires can wear out for a variety of factors, but the kind of driving, the vehicle, speeds, and the regular road conditions affect the tire condition the most. I keep a rating on my Tesla safety score of often a full 100. That's as good as it gets with good driving. The roads where I live are excellent, but I do plenty of freeway driving, and that could have been a factor. Within no time, the tread reading on some of the tires moved lower to 3 to 4. The acceleration of electric vehicles, in addition to their weight, can cause tires to wear out quicker, and would-be buyers should be aware of that. Upon checking with Tesla, I saw significant wait times, and I opted to change the tires on my own anyway, a little ahead of time, for safety and a better driving experience. I contacted America Tires, who seamlessly set up an appointment on the same day and completed the job in about 45 minutes. Replacing all the four tires cost me $1,219.94. That was a very significant discount to the price that Tesla had indicated for the same. The sleek glowing lines, the aerodynamic character that looks wind sculpted, the sharp angular headlights, frameless windows, and the stretching glass roof all represent a lovely construction and have all kept up with the 30,000 miles. Its LED headlight modules have low and high beam LEDs within the projector lens and DRLs on the outer rim. The matrix function that may not be available everywhere offers adaptive lighting with 208 LED diodes consisting of 102 LEDs inside the projector lens and additional reflectors bringing both low and high beam illumination. When on that odd occasion when a Porsche strangely provokes on the freeway, or when there's gladly little to attract eyes with so many of its kind everywhere, it's quietly going about its job with the ownership free of any worry whatsoever. The interiors have held up pretty well with their tranquil self. It's actually very strange yet an interesting mix of a cool and sporty design and also radiating the technology that it's packed with. The condition of the interior is for you to see as is at this point. On my part, I have tried my best to treat it well, from driving well to keeping it free of overloading in terms of use. I have never added unruly things in the cargo, the seats largely to sit, and neither have I been in a hurry to move it from point to point. And that's also paid back in comfort and with lower costs. As a family, we live fairly minimalist, and that goes naturally with the character of the Model 3. And in some way, the car and we look after each other. After 30,000 miles, it feels as good as when it was new, and that's what you get with a very minimalist, low maintenance car. Tesla has implemented numerous software updates over the duration of the 30,000 miles. I'd like to highlight some of the major ones here. The first one, though not applicable to my car, is the trailer support. That's applicable on cars that support towing. The Model 3 navigation now also displays the weather and precipitation maps. It also gets the search along route feature. This is so useful in picking eating places along the route on long road trips which had to previously happen on the phone. The navigation can now be set to a particular state of charge on arrival. That's added comfort to those who get anxious. The battery now has improved preconditioning for faster DC charging in colder climates. The dashcam footage can now be viewed on the mobile app. Apple Watch gets the Tesla app to act as a key in addition to some other useful functions. The tune-in radio gets an upgrade including an improved UI. Spotify, Apple Music were all added in the past to the infotainment. The car now gets a blind spot alert when parked. It's very useful to spot anything that may be obstructing an opening door. The rear cross traffic alert added to the car is very useful when backing up and is also one of the latest additions. The Tesla Vision update was itself a major one. There's more control for the driver now for the passenger and rear seats. The full self-driving, the auto park, and the actually smart summon are highly improved, and you can view the links in the description to check them in action or here. The UI on the main screen itself has undergone major changes, including swapping to full screen displays, turn signal alerts, parking visualizations, and more. There are many more, and these are just the major ones that come to mind. Here are some of my major likes and dislikes, not necessarily in the order of intensity. Some are simply minor issues, often very personal. The first niggle is the lack of a powered front trunk. Had it been available, it would be very useful, especially as the Model 3 requires a push with both the hands to close it properly. The next is a feature that disables the power outlets when the car is switched off. Any devices plugged to the USB simply stop charging when that happens. The Model 3 has no spare tires, and though that has never really hurt me, it would be some very useful assurance. The biggest is the absence of any ultrasonic sensors or a proper 360 camera. This day I think that's an absolute given and is absent in the Model 3. The things I like about the Model 3 is its tremendous value and diversity of function. There's no place and aspect that it's not served me in. From easy slip in and slip outs from parking lots to driving 500 plus miles a day, charging rapidly and absolutely with no hassles. It's the best car to me. Nothing is complete in a Tesla without any mention of the industry leading app experience. From controlling the hardware functions, the charging, safety, navigation, security, availing services, to managing all kinds of transactions with Tesla, this is a single point access sitting in the pocket. It's so good that other OEMs can simply use it as a leading light. The Tesla superchargers and their integration with the trips in the car is the next amazing feature. No user need bother about a trip once the same is entered in the navigation, and the feature it affords for optimizing are incredible. I recently shared a video of my 450 plus miles trip to Joshua Tree, which you can check here or via its link in the description to check it firsthand. The next feature I like is the heat pump that brings insane efficiency in the energy management of the car. Above all, the car has zero maintenance outside of the things I stated earlier, and with the free energy I enjoy, which covers about 90% of my overall use, this car is an unbeatable proposition. With DC charging, here is a single charging session that we will reference to examine the fast charging capability of the Model 3 after all those thousands of miles. In an anomaly of sorts, I pulled in at 5% instead of the 10%, with the battery preconditioned while driving about 30 miles and navigating to a level 3 Tesla supercharger that delivers 250 kilowatt max. I'll speed up this part and plot the charge curve to make this part easy to consume. The charging curve would have actually been slightly better had I pulled in at 10%, as that would have enabled the car to access higher power upfront at the lower permissible limit of 10%. But that's going to be a more conservative rating and hence good. For the benefit of those new to EVs, for DC charging the best practices are to pull in low and charge enough to reach the next stop. Though here 10% would have been more suitable for our test. In real life, I would prefer to charge to 50%, pulling in as low as feasible and then moving to the next charger. Preconditioning the battery is automatic in this car and an important aspect for DC charging. And while charging, I leave the climate control on to emulate real world conditions. All those factors need to be revisited based on the actual car and the available charger. In this case, it's easy and all Tesla. It's also important to note that some energy as usual is lost to heat, and the numbers here will only be pertaining to the energy received by the car. The pre-refresh Model 3 is built on the cell-to-pack structure with no intermediate modules and 355 volts of nominal voltage. It's also a structural pack that uses prismatic cells with integrated liquid cooling. The lack of intermediate modules improves the energy density and reduces weight, hence the high efficiency of almost 4.37 miles per kilowatt hour in the lifetime. Alright, so now let's look at the three primary charging curves. The power to state of charge, the total energy received to state of charge, and the total energy received to the time taken in minutes. The third one will also display the miles per minute added, the measure that would be of most interest. For the miles per minute, I'll use the actual efficiency of the car over its lifetime, which is 229 watt-hours per mile or 4.37 miles per kilowatt hour. The first chart here displays the power received from the charger against the state of charge. The power ramped up to a max of 157 kilowatts within a few minutes and had already scaled down to about 128 kilowatts by the time it reached 10%. The curve then held fairly steady over 100 kilowatts till reaching 50%, which is impressive, ending the session at 61 kilowatts at 80%. The charger here anyway restricted charging to 80% on being a busy location. It's often not the high power but the steadiness of the curve that makes all the difference. The second chart shows a flat and steady curve that progressively ramps up to deliver 39 kilowatt hours in all while charging from 0 to 80%. 37 of those coming after 10%. That's 162 miles of driving range added, charging 10 to 80% with the given lifetime efficiency. The third and final chart here is most useful, and it displays the energy received against the minutes taken for the same. This is what most users would be interested in, which as you see is under 24 minutes, and without being fussy with numbers, the ideal, and would have been even better had I pulled in at 10% instead of the 5%. Not that an extra 10 minutes would matter to most, but generally speaking 20 to 25 minutes charging 10 to 80% is very acceptable with contemporary EVs. Given the lifetime efficiency, that indicates adding a driving range of 7.14 miles per minute. Don't think anyone will complain with that performance, and those charts and the recorded charging session amply display the DC charging prowess of this car. Documenting that experience I hope will help many other EV buyers. If you have a query, please put it in the comments. I'd be happy to answer. When driving electric, lots depends on the comfort of charging in your given conditions. AC slow charging is by far the best, and overnight at home even better. Battery packs in comparable EVs now are at least 50% bigger in terms of capacities and bring those additional miles in range. The EPA testing has got stricter and real world range experiences are hence that much more reliable. The new Model 3 rear-wheel drive will be at least 75 to 100 miles more in range than this one, and that's likely going to suffice 99% of the trips for most people. Those miles a decade back would have been the total range of cars then available. Driving very long distances, say over 1000 miles, gas-powered cars would still be quicker. Make no mistake. Listen, if you like this content, please let me know in your interactions with this video. You can view my recent video here or in the link below. See you in the next one.